The Adventures of Wilfred Wallabe, brought to you by the Johnson Brothers Cloth Diapers. Let us hold your poopskis. The Mystery of the Silver Tooth. It was an unusually cold and quiet morning in the city, as Wilfred and his hound, Doc, made their way to the barber shop for a long overdue trim. Hello? Hello? Jeez, it's quieter than a cemetery in here. All right, stay here, boy. I'm gonna take a look around. Gus, you there? I'm here for my haircut. Gus. Wilfred looked behind the front desk and around every corner. Not a single hair lay on the floor. Every scissor and every blade was tucked away neatly and untouched, as if nobody had been there. He walked slowly to the back storage closet. Hey, Gus, are you back here? I'm just coming for my appointment. There, lying at his feet in a pool of blood, was Gus the barber, gasping for his last breath. Gus! Gus, what happened? Who did this? Who did this?
Clean up on aisle 6.
What? What'd you say?
Clean up on aisle 6.
Wilfred froze and watched as Gus took his last breath of life. He looked over the cold dead body for any clues left by the killer. He noticed on the bloody hand there was a missing finger, and just nearby was a bloody shaving blade glimmering in the light. All right, Doc, I'm coming. Wilfred walked over to Doc in the other room, who was busy sniffing the ground furiously. What have you got there, boy? He knelt down and reached under Doc's moist nose. There, on the floor, was a silver tooth. He scratched Doc's ear. Well, Doc, finding a decent barber isn't easy these days. I don't expect finding his killer to be any different. Come on, let's get out of here. Later that day, Wilfred ran to the home of Susie Legs in a panic.
There you are.
Is everything okay?
Yes.
What happened?
Calm down.
She left me a note saying to come over here and that it was an emergency.
It is.
So, what is it?
My, you're cranky.
Legs, please, what's wrong?
Well, the kitchen sink won't work.
The kitchen sink? That was your emergency?
What am I supposed to do all day if I have no dishes to clean?
Good point. All right, I'll see what I can do. Hand me those tools over there.
As Wilfred worked, he noticed that Susie had gotten all dolled up for the occasion. A yellow dress, golden locks, and bright cherry red lipstick. She was a beautiful specimen to behold. Every guy in town knew that when God gave her the last name Legs, he meant it.
I brought you lemonade.
Not thirsty.
Homemade chocolate chip cookies.
Allergic.
Wilfie, why don't you love me anymore?
Wow, you really know how to just cut to the chase, don't you, Legs?
Well, it's just, we had something really good, and you changed.
You know, I think I'll have a cookie after all.
Wilfie, are you listening to me?
Look, Legs, I've been busy, that's all, you know, with work, taking care of Doc, work, and other busy-related things.
Oh, I see.
I gotta stop by the store to pick up a couple things I need for this job, so I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
Wilfred had made his way to the end of the checkout line at his local Piggly Wiggly grocery store.
Okay, is that gonna be all for you today?
Yeah, I think that's good. Oh, hold on. Actually, I'll get one of these.
Alrighty, looks like your total's gonna be $1.59.
A woman behind them in the beverage aisle had just knocked over a glass bottle of milk.
Not again. I'm gonna need a clean up in aisle 6, please. Clean up in aisle 6.
The hairs on the back of Wilfred's neck stood straight up.
Clean up on aisle 6.
He slowly turned and walked towards the aisle where the woman stood by the spilled milk. She had dark hair and fair skin, and she was blushing with embarrassment. One of the store's workers was already on his hands and knees wiping it up for her. Wilfred walked past both of them and began searching the aisle. Aisle 6. He didn't know what he was looking for, but his gut told him he was in the right place. One by one, he pushed aside jars and bottles, trying to find something, anything. Finally, he reached the end of the row, the bottles of punch. He slowly reached for the shelf and pushed the first row aside. There, tucked in the back, was a bottle with bloody fingerprints. He looked over both his shoulders before grabbing it. He held the cold glass and gave the cap a twist. Just as soon as the cap was removed, a pale, pruny finger floated to the surface. The finger of Gus the Barber. Wilfred quickly twisted the cap back on and hid the bottle on the shelf. As he headed for the exit, he couldn't help but smile. He was right on his tail. After a terrible night's sleep, Wilfred and his dog were called in early to a crime scene at a nearby motel.
You couldn't have called an hour later. It's not like the body's gonna get any deader.
Well, good morning to you too, Wilf.
Detective Barnes was a short man with an even shorter man syndrome. He had brown, curly hair and a mustache that resembled a dead hamster perched on his upper lip.
So, what have we got?
Female, early 20s, clubbed to death by a lamp.
A lamp? What kind of lamp?
Doesn't matter.
Well, considering this motel doesn't carry lamps in their rooms and relies solely on a single bulb in the ceiling, and that the killer brought the lamp with him, indicating that if we were to locate the source of the lamp, we locate the killer, then, yeah, you're right, maybe it doesn't matter.
The body and the lamp are over here.
Wilfred and Doc walked over to the side of the bed where the body was covered by a white sheet.
Do me a favor and call up whatever store sells those lamps.
Detective Barnes went to the lamp and found the name of the store on the bottom of it. He walked over to the phone and began dialing. Wilfred knelt down and pulled the sheet slowly from the victim's face. His mouth went dry as he peered into the eyes of a beautiful, dark-haired, fair-skinned girl. The girl from aisle 6.
Hey, Wilf. Wilf!
Yeah.
Hey, I'm on the phone with the Piggly Wiggly store. They say no one's purchased one of those lamps in months.
In months? Well, this lamp's brand new. Which can only mean...
Wilfred smiled the second it all clicked.
Are you saying it was stolen?
Yeah, you can say that.
Within minutes, Wilfred had walked into the Piggly Wiggly with a skip in his step. He headed straight for aisle 6. His steps grew slow and careful. Every pound of his heart rang in his ears. He reached for a glass bottle of milk and looked both ways. The coast was clear. With one swift motion, he threw the bottle at the ground. Wilfred waited and waited.
We're gonna need a cleanup at aisle 6, please. Cleanup at aisle 6.
He waited for what seemed like eternity, until something bumped his foot. He jumped and looked down. There, at his feet, was the store worker, who was already on his hands and knees wiping up the spill. Wilfred choked on his words. The man slowly looked up.
Don't worry about it.
The man smiled, revealing a missing front tooth right next to a silver one. Wilfred clenched his fist. You owe me a new barber. Wilfred and Doc fought with every ounce of energy they had, punching and biting as hard as they could. The shot echoed around every corner of the store. The worker lay still. Wilfred holstered his smoking pistol. He would have pulled it out earlier, but he wanted the satisfaction of a few punches first. Everyone in the store stared at him in silence as he headed for the exit with Doc at his side. He winked at the cashier, and just before walking out the door, turned and said to her, "You got a cleanup on aisle 6. Wilfred got home and collapsed on the couch. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed a package sitting on the kitchen table. He looked down at Doc. I don't recall teaching you to answer the door and sign for packages. He walked over to the box and opened it. Inside was a peculiar machine covered in dials and buttons. A note saying, "Push here," was taped to one of the buttons. Wilfred obeyed.
Dad, this is your son, Petey, from the future. It's 1963 and our president, John F. Kennedy, was just assassinated. I'm in danger and I need your help in solving this case. I know you're not going to believe me. Here's a hit song from my year.
Wilfred stared at the machine, confused and speechless. Someone was pounding at the door. He cocked his gun and hid it behind his back as he opened the door. There, Susie Legs jumped on him and wrapped her arms around his neck.
Wilfie, oh my gosh, I have the best news. You're never gonna believe this.
What is it?
I'm pregnant!